Greetings, this is Dr. Jimmy again, and this is part 14 in my series on the history of Halloween Horror Nights 22. What evil has... No, I'm sorry, that's the wrong one. Once you're inside, there's no way out. That's it, yes. From 2012 at Universal Studios, Florida. And it's the same day, Sunday, June 12th, so I'm just going to go right into it. I had... In my previous video, I'd begun talking about Bill and Ted's Excellent Halloween Adventure that year, and I got to the part where the Avengers parody went on. So after that, continuing with the show, there was Magic Mike, but it wasn't, of course, the lovely Channing Tatum stripping and posing with his hot body. Instead, a somewhat portly actor came out wearing a cape and holding a magic wand, going, "Hi, I'm Magic Mike, and I will do magic for you now. I'm a magician. I'm available for bat mitzvahs and birthday parties." At the same time, a lot of the female characters, the Snow Whites and Katniss and a couple others, show up at the top of the stage on the little platform above the stage and start acting like girls in a male strip review, going, yeah, come on, take it off. And he's like, I don't do that. You're thinking of the other Magic Mike. I do a magic act. Show us your magic wand. He goes, okay. And I'll just whip it out. And then he pulls out an actual magic wand. He turns his back to the audience, and then they go, and the girls are all disappointed. He turns around, and you think maybe it's dick size, but rather he's holding the wand. And then, of course, one of the girls shouts out one of my favorite lines, and I love being able to say this in one of my videos. Show us your whippered... Oh, I'm sorry, I screwed it up. Show us your wizard nipples! Yes, terrible. And so he's going to do his magic act, and they keep shouting at him. He says, all right, I'll give you what you want. And so he rips off his cape and starts stripping out of his magician's outfit and going all the way down to a G-string. And, of course, he is not the cut, six-pack abs, huge pecs, biceps of Channing Tatum. No, he's a fat guy. And so he's stripping and he's this great big fat guy. And it's awesome because he doesn't care how he looks. It's, there's no body fascism here. And the audience screams for him even though it's not what you'd expect. And he runs out into the audience and he gets on the lap of some of the people in the front row who are usually VIP seating. And then he goes up and, and a couple of times I tried to get someone to put $1 into his G-string, but no one wanted to do it. But, and they probably wouldn't have been allowed to, but it was fun. And that was the Magic Mike parody. Then we had a rush scene. Here we went back and forth. People like laughing. If you've ever seen that program, probably never heard of it. But one joke after another popping up as Bill and Ted run back and forth across the stage in the lockers. Someone will pop out of a locker, someone will pop out of a door. Quick little line, quick little gag. Bang, 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 bang. All kinds of stuff. Batman, Christian Bale, gravity voice. Then Jaws comes out and it's like, I miss you, Sharky. And everyone goes, oh, because we all miss Jaws because the ride was, torn down. And there's Ted, the little bear, going, I'm not supposed to sound like Peter Griffin, but I do. That kind of thing. There was Game of Thrones, winter is coming. All of this sort of thing popping up. Let's see. Oh, yes, from Saturday Night Live, Stefan. That was quite funny. All of these little characters come out and do a quick gag, one after another. Bill goes, I'm not gay! Because Stefan is like flirting with him and talking about something with baboons and midgets like he usually does. And all sorts of crazy stuff, which then climaxed with, all of a sudden, Gangnam Style, because Say comes out and they do the Gangnam Style dance. Right there on the stage. A wonderful number. And then all of a sudden that's all done. And Dingleberry, all that's done. And Bill and Ted are there, and they're all upset with each other. And they don't know what they're going to do about the election when suddenly there's a burst of white light. And descending from the heavens in a white robe with great halo and wings is Dick Clark, who of course had passed away. Dick Clark, and he came floating down and he says, oh, look, it's a Dick Clark hologram. He goes, no, not a hologram. He says, I've got my wings, but I still can't go beyond until I finish this last task to get you back together. Because the world needs the wild stallions. They need Bill and Ted. And so he told them their election was being rigged and that they had to stop and save a day. Otherwise, Dingleberry would ruin everything and Bill and Ted would never be, and be no wild stallions. And so he returned to them the one thing we hadn't seen yet in this entire performance. The iconic phone booth appears. As he returns the phone booth to them, he says, "You know what to do." And then he flies away. And so Bill and Ted, having been guided by heaven itself, go into their phone booth to save the day. But before they do that, Ted kind of has a moment of doubt. He's like, "Oh, it's too late. What can we do? It's you know." And Bill is trying to cheer him up. Just, you know, remember when we bought a zoo? He goes, "We never bought a zoo." "Well, we should." Then there was another one about where he sang a song. I love that song. And tried to get Ted, and finally says, "Look, you know, we've got to be friends, because what number am I thinking of?" And then the audience, of course, yells, "69!" And Ted goes, "69?" He goes, "Yeah!" So obviously with that they realize they are kindred spirits, and so they both go into the phone booth to save the day. So, next scene, Dingleberry has taken over the school. There's no one, it's the election, but there's no present, because no one has shown up. Therefore, he's going to take over and ruin everything. And at the last second, suddenly the phone booth and Bill and Ted come out, and they bring with them Abraham Lincoln. This time, looking like Abraham Lincoln. And he walks out, and the first thing he sees is an African-American student. He goes, "Oh, you have Negro children here." And the guy almost hits him. But then he gives his advice about the election, about democracy and freedom and the American way, and Bill and Ted overthrow Dingleberry, I guess. I don't even know who gets to be class president. That doesn't matter. Everything is saved. And so they sing and dance for no good reason. As always, the end of Bill and Ted, every Bill and Ted. That year we had Usher, played by the same actor who played Obama, of course. Pitbull, let's see, Nicki Minaj, Rihanna performances, and once again the Beastie Boys did a final tribute song. So that was Bill and Ted's Excellent Halloween Adventure 2012. Alright, now that would be the end of my coverage of Halloween Horror Nights 22, except there's one other thing that went on that year. It was a big thing, an exciting thing, a new thing. We had Legendary Truth in the past, but this time they wanted to test a more interactive game that would involve the event in a way it had never before. And they wanted to test some new technology also, and they called it, this beta test was called Horror Unearthed. And apparently, because of the iniquitous and all those legions, all this stuff came up from underneath, and in order to the game players then were going to try to figure out what was going on by exploring the bloodlines. It turns out that every person on Earth is descended from one of these 6 bloodlines, and each legion of horror, including the zombies, represents these 6 bloodlines. The warriors represent the Bacanoids, who are intellectuals and very arrogant and pompous. I happen to be one. The Bacanoids, the Strangoid are the sexy, seductive vampires. The Cerebin are the more physical, jock-like beasts. The Morphins are the trickster, diminutive, childlike, happy pranksters, love candy, shape-shifting Morphins, orphans. Mashorians are the chainsaw people, tech people into machinery, into very regimented hierarchies as well. The Kerazan, or the zombies, mindless consumers, color-coded, as I said before, purple, red, blue, yellow, orange, green, all of that. And every person would register under one of those bloodlines. And that way you would find out, and you would play in 6 different teams, you see, and they would compete against each other. And everyone got a little card with an RFID chip. and you would take that card with you, and there were various tasks. Some of the tasks that you would do in playing the game involved going to haunted houses in a particular sequence. You might go to 3 different houses, and you had to go, the clues are given out, you had to figure out the clues and understand exactly which houses they were, and you would go to those 3 houses within a certain time period in a certain order. And there were little scanners at the exit of every house with the Horror Unearthed logo, and you'd run this card in front of that. Sometimes they didn't work, but if they worked properly, then you would do all 3, and if you did the task correctly, a little badge would show up on your email or a text. And also, the badge would show up on the online version of the game, a whole website, and you'd have your register, and you could go to your name and you can see what badges you'd earned there. So get badges for all those different tasks. Okay, so you would scan the houses, and sometimes you'd have to go all the houses in one night or in a specific order or whatever. It was getting quite interesting. Then, in addition to that, there was a meetup at Finnegans Bar and Grill. You had to go there at a certain time of night for your particular legion, and when you went there, you would scan a book. Some of the Horror Unearthed people, like Ray Kime and Rick Spencer, would have a book, this dusty old tome of evil lore with the symbol of the legion. Each legion had its own symbol, by the way. The Bacchanoids had a purple dragon, the Strengoid had a sort of skull spider image that was red, the Cerebin had sort of a beastly face, sort of. The Morphins had like a mask, the Mashorians had a scorpion, and the Kerazan had a hand. Okay, and these symbols would be in the right color on top of the book, and you would scan, you put your card to the book, and that would help you get a Finnegans badge. But then they also had to confirm heritage, and the confirm heritage task, each legion had a separate one at a specific night in a specific place. You'd had to find the place based on some clever clues, and the clues sometimes are quite difficult. And when you did these, you would go to a different place. The first one I did was Mashorians, and the clue was a text in Turkish, which, if you figured it out, meant that you were supposed to go where the first Amazon was buried, and that turned out to be, remember I told you there was a Xena plaque on a cemetery set over in World Expo, and if you went there at this right time, then some of those prisoners would show up, and they would have with them this strange artifact. It was shaped like a sort of Fabergé egg in a bear trap, and that was the Mashorian, what do they call it, the artifact. Yes, the artifact for the Mashorians. And so only one Mashorian actually was able to show up that night, but she got a picture taken, and so that was done. Okay, and confirm Mashorian heritage. The next one was the Cerebin. On another night they did the Cerebin, and that one there was I believe something in Spanish or something, and a clue eventually took you to about caves in Spain, and when you figured that clue out, you ended up in New York Street at the little subway stop near the entrance to one of the houses by Macy's, and you go down into that subway thing, and down in there were these beasts, and they were there with what was like a cage, a little cage that would be for the Cerebin. Then for the Kerazan was the next one. Almost missed that one because Chris wanted to watch Bill and Ted instead of go to the Horror Unearthed game. It pissed me off. But it was set up. There was a very clever Egyptian hieroglyphs, and they would, if you figured it all out, it referred to the Latin name for a great white shark, and then you knew you're supposed to go to Fisherman's Wharf where the big shark is still hanging there, the old shark from Jaws, Bruce we call him. And so we go there, and there was a jar containing a hand, a zombie's hand, along with the zombies for the Kerazan. For the Strengoid, the clue was in Bulgarian, and it was a map, and you had to figure out what's in Central Park. Go to the Central Park, and we were running around Central Park trying to find this place. Eventually we found on a rock at the end of Central Park, kind of close to the Back to the Future train area, they found the hooded figures, and the Cerebin were there, and they had an artifact for them, and it was sort of a chalice, or actually sort of vessel to contain blood, of course. Then the Bacchanoid, they had a very tough clue involving Chinese water clocks and a very tough puzzle. Ultimately, though, it turned out to be on Delancey Street by Boris's office, and a little alcove there, one of those little street front little of a building, and there were the warriors, and the image for the artifact for the Bacchanoids was a sort of urn with a sword going into it, all right, and a shield-like device on it. So that was for the Bacchanoids, and the last one was for the Morphins, and they were doing it by the scores because Bacchanoids and Morphins were nudging each other out for first and second place, but by this point the Morphins were winning. Ultimately, they won the whole damn thing. Bacchanoids came in second, then Strangoid, then Karazhan and Cerebin. The Mashorian pretty much is the way it went throughout the whole game. But others might have edged each other. I think the Cerebin pushed up, and Karazhan were like neck and neck for third place. I don't know how it ended up at the very end. I don't remember. Except the Morphins won, I know that. But the Morphins, ended up, again, involved an Aztec calendar and strange clues about llamas leaping out. Then you finally figured it out. You had to go near the animal active stage. Actually, Kid Zone is where it was, where there's a path that goes to the animal active stage from Kid Zone. And there had been set up the two big Gog and Magog pumpkin things, because pumpkins were in Kid Zone, even though they weren't. The pumpkins were brought back into the Kid Zone, into trees, and were decorating an area, although it wasn't like a scare zone. It just happened to be there. And the big Gog Magog pumpkin scarecrow creatures that had popped up many times in the past, beginning at Fractured Tales, were right there by what looked like a coffin that sometimes moved on what was like the back of a cart. And right there was Rosie the Fox Girl representing the Morphins, and she brought the artifact, was a creepy little baby doll with glowing eyes. And so that's when they got their legion confirmed. So those tasks were done. And of course, simultaneously, there were online games that you had to play. Some of them were really difficult, some were very easy, and you could rack up points for your legion that way, even if you weren't going to the event. So by all these different activities, people would rack up more and more points, you see. And you could go to a thing online where it showed all 6 legions, and it was like hourglass filling with sand, and each one you could see how high it was and who was winning and what the scores were. All quite fun. Alright, so ultimately went to a final task. It wasn't the last night of the event because they told us, you want to see Bill and Ted's final show maybe, so they instead did a couple nights before, maybe the last Thursday, because a lot of people, of course, had frequent fears that didn't include Fridays or Saturdays, right? So they wanted to go on the last Thursday, I think, of the event, and that was the final task, and you had to find one of the masters, as they called them, wearing the hoods in the street, and you're running around, because some of them were false. Eventually you found him on Hollywood Boulevard, and when you found the guy, and he would scan your card, then you would get a cookie badge. Yes, a little chocolate chip cookie. And then you were directed to go to the Pantages Theater, and everyone sat there, and there was a presentation given by Rick Spencer, T.J. Manarino, Ray Kyman, all the people who put on Horror Unearthed, explaining how they did the game, and how this was actually a test for future games in the Return of Legendary Truth, maybe. Didn't say that. You got a little Horror Unearthed pin, and everyone got their cookie, and it was all quite fun. Chris Redfield almost missed the thing because he was watching Bill and Ted again, and then he got pissed off that no one told him to show up at Pantages Theater, and he almost didn't get in until the end. But that was Horror Unearthed. Later, after the event was over, they threw in some extra stuff. They revealed a lot of puzzle pieces online. You could put them together, and you ended up getting big family trees for all the bloodlines, and then it revealed through that several characters at Horror Nights over the years belonged to different bloodlines. For example, Jack was a Morphin, and so was Chance, and so was Cindy, and so was Chucky. See, even the characters, classic Universal monsters and characters who had appeared at Horror Nights are associated with Horror Nights, but also some historical figures or literary figures who had never been at Horror Nights. For example, Blackbeard the pirate was a Morphin, and so was King King Richard III of England was a Morphin, apparently. And in the Bacchanoid Legion, for example, the Chinese Empress was there, one of the Dowager Empress. There was also Confucius, historical figure, but also in Bacchanoid was Sherlock Holmes and Professor Moriarty, but also HHN character, the Caretaker, and Mariagana, right? In Cerebin, Darkness, the Lord of Darkness. You also had Tree, a lot of other strange creatures, but no icon for them. Although the Wolfman was there, of course, and Attila the Hun. For Morphins, you had, I mentioned Jack, and he's already mentioned the Morphin. So Strengoit, of course, Dracula, Vlad the Impaler. You also had Lady Luck was a Morphin, so I mean a Strengoit, and so was the director. Okay, Mashorians, the Bride of Frankenstein, Eddie, just about anyone who ever had a chainsaw at HHN was in there, and also Caligula. And in the Karazhan, in addition to Imhotep and the Frankenstein monster and the Usher, you also had amongst the Karazhan Ramesses. Okay. Oddly enough, the historical figures I found through my own family trees, I'm related to someone in all of those bloodlines in real life. Thus, even though every person is supposed to have one bloodline and I identify as a Bacchanoid, I actually have bloodline from all 6 legions, which I don't think any other person has, so I felt quite remarkable. Maybe that means something, or maybe I'm just crazy. Alright, I don't have much time left, but I want to cover the merchandise of the event. There were, of course, the usual t-shirts, including zombie Walking Dead t-shirt, and I believe there were t-shirts for Alice Cooper, which is a v-neck t-shirt for one of the other haunted houses. Which was it? What were the other houses? There was a let's see. No, I think it was a. I think that was it as far as a Silent Hill T-shirt with the nurse on it and the bunny, and of course the house shirt with all the houses on the back. There was another cat that had like zombie bait or something on it. I didn't like it. Oh, silly me. Yeah, here's the pictures. Here's the pictures. Shot glasses, of course, the commemorative pins, and a unique item right there, a vinyl figure. I'm running out of time, otherwise I'd run over there and grab it off the shelf and show you the vinyl figure itself. Maybe I'll do that in a future video. A little vinyl figure of a zombie. A uni mini vinyl, and the first one for Horror Nights. And they would continue to make uni minis, vinyl figures for Horror Nights after that. So that then wraps up Halloween Horror Nights 22. Once you're inside, there's no way out. When I do my next videos, whenever that may be, at some point I'll begin Halloween Horror Nights 23, What Evil Has Taken Root. But that's for a later day. So until then, have a good rest of your day, and I hope nothing terrible like this morning ever happens again. I love you all. Bye-bye.